Good evening once again, and a special welcome if you missed us last month when those dramatic news events caused us to be moved to BBC Two. It was a shift that had a remarkable consequence, more of which in just a moment.
Tonight, we hope to find everyone who was in a Cardiff nightclub, Jackson's, on the Friday before Christmas. Somebody there might have seen the man who murdered a young woman. Police need more witnesses to a car chase near Oxford, where more than a dozen local people foiled a robbery and chased two gunmen out of town. And perhaps you can help discover who killed a London businessman as he sat working late one evening at his office.
Before that, let me tell you about that extraordinary result from last month's programme. Extraordinary because, indirectly, the Allies' first airstrike on Iraq may have helped to solve a murder in South London. An ex-headmaster had been strangled at his home in Plumstead, and two televisions had gone missing from the house. One viewer watched the programme on a second-hand TV she'd bought not long ago, but she didn't manage to write down the serial numbers we gave out to compare them with her own. Now, this is where events in the Gulf come in. Because of the outbreak of war, Crimewatch had been rescheduled, rather to the irritation of her next-door neighbour, who had set her video recorder to tape the 40 Minutes documentary on BBC Two. When she rewound the tape and found that we were on it, frankly, she was rather disappointed. But her friend from next door was delighted. She checked the serial numbers and found they tallied. As a result, two young men have been arrested and they've been charged with murder.
There's also been an arrest in connection with a reconstruction we showed in December. After an armed raid on a security van in Liverpool, a police constable test riding a new patrol bike was threatened with a sawn-off shotgun. One viewer thought the video fit we showed was so like a man she knew, it might have been a photograph. Eventually, a friend of hers rang the police. One man has now been charged in connection with the raid, and another is actively being sought.
Tonight's first reconstruction is of a crime that had so many witnesses you might think it's a wonder the police need any more. It's an armed raid on a security van near Oxford, a robbery that had to be abandoned because so many drivers and people from a nearby builders merchants decided to intervene. Now, we've changed some minor details for security reasons, and we filmed when it was snowing, which it wasn't when the robbery took place. The day is exactly 1 week before Christmas, Tuesday the 18th of December. And it's 2:30 outside the Unipart factory in Garsington Road in Cowley.
That guy over there, Mick, looks so he's having a pee.
Very clever if he is, no hands.
Notice the light-coloured car at the front, though it might not have been a Volvo.
Somebody's just been shot.
Oh my God! Keep back! Back off, all right? Keep back, you'll get hurt! Now back off! Come on, let's get it! Come on, eat him all summer! Let's it gun! On there,
The driver of this pursuing car is an ex-police officer.
John's Brian. John Armblag, Unipart, Garsington Road. On cab in pursuit of a Vauxhall dark blue. G818 VPD. 2 targets. One of them armed. Handgun, pistol. I repeat, a dark blue Vauxhall. I think they may be a London team because of the handgun situation. One of the guards either seriously or fatally shot. They're going hell of a whack. 80-90 through Garsington. I'm going to have difficulty at the top here, I think. John, I've lost them. They've obviously not come up onto this road. I'm turning back. Without a doubt, they've gone straight across the crossroads towards Berrinsfield.
At 20 to 3, Linda Madel was driving up Toote-Baldon Road.
Immediately I saw him, I thought, there's something very suspicious going on. And he was sort of in a panicky state. He looked very pale. And I just thought he was up to no good.
There was another witness with his dog in an adjoining field. A little later, further down the lane, a cyclist saw a jogger. And just after 3 o'clock, the police got to the lay-by where the robbers had been parked. They could hardly miss the evidence.
Helmet and cash bags. Brother Alpha 9-1. Piece of number plate up in the
9-1, go ahead.
Yeah, can you arrange a scenes of crime mobile for me, please? A Toote-Baldon Road. Near side, we found some number plate helmets and that in a ditch. Proceed to it.
Yes, 9-1 on the scene. Bravo Alpha out.
Have a look in the field just to make sure.
And at about the same time, 2 miles further up the main road that runs through Newnham Courtney, a quality inspector road testing a new car had stopped to check the vehicle.
We have a replica of that gun here. Dave Buckingham, first of all, what about the security guard who was apparently shot? What sort of condition is he in?
He's fine, Nick. Had a bruised and swollen cheek, but he was lucky that a blank was fired, otherwise he could have been very seriously injured or even killed.
Now, in fact, the gun that was used that fired blanks isn't a real one, it's a replica, a very popular make of replica.
It's a Brunei 8mm, made in Italy, and it's a replica Beretta. We would like to hear from anybody who may have had one stolen or knows of anybody who purchased one recently and is now no longer in possession of it since the 18th of December.
Now, the blanks that were in this may hold the key because before the robbery, the night before, in fact, at 6:15, a man walked into the Dunmore Shooting Centre on the Wootton Road in Abingdon, which is about 5 miles from Cowley.
I'm sorry, sir, we're closed.
You don't have to sell me anything.
Look, do you have any of these?
Yes, 8mm blanks. I sell them, but not this particular type. Do you know what gun it's for?
No, I don't. But it's a good one.
Let's have a look at the magazine. No, I can't tell, I'm afraid. If I say the wrong blanks, you could hurt yourself or the gun.
Well, it's only in the car. I can go and get it if you like.
Well, I'm closed now, but open at 9 in the morning. If you bring it back then, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Now, you think this man just might be the man in the robbery who drove the getaway car?
He's very similar to the video fit produced by the witness at Toote-Baldon who saw the man next to the blue Vauxhall. At Abingdon, he was wearing a light beige shirt and dark trousers. At Tooting by the Vauxhall, he was wearing a denim jacket and dark trousers.
He's a pretty big guy, about 6 foot tall, and so is the second man, the gunman. The gunman, also about 6 foot, wears size 11 shoes, you know that, and sort of receding dark hair. What about the woman in the car, in that light-coloured car that drove in front? Ostensibly, she was turning round in the road. Of course, she could have been there simply to set up the robbery.
Yes, we would like her to come forward if she is an innocent party just turning around in the road, or we would like to hear from somebody who knows a woman driving a similar car who is an associate of the two offenders.
Now, the clothing that was dumped was quite distinctive. We've got a picture of the blue tracksuit, which has a star emblem with an 8 on it, as you can see, and the trousers say O'Neill. And found with the clothes was this receipt. Tell us about it.
Yes, the receipt is from Roach's stores in Cork, Southern Ireland. The amounts on the receipt are actually amounts for the tracksuit top and bottom, and we would like to know of anybody who's been across to Ireland, maybe on holiday, or just visited and purchased such items recently. They were purchased about 6 days before the robbery on the 12th of December.
So there may well be an Irish connection somehow to this. The dark blue Vauxhall Cavalier that the robbers used to escape in has never been found, has it?
No, it has a broken rear passenger window. We would like to hear from anybody who knows such a vehicle. They may have had it stolen, maybe a hire vehicle, or it could be the offender's own vehicle. Or
maybe you repaired that sort of damaged vehicle. This is the plate that was made up, or one of them. If you made up that plate too, do please let us know, G818VPD. Indeed, if you can help us in any way, do please call. There's the number, 081 811 8181. 081 811 8181. The detectives are waiting now, or indeed you can speak to a BBC researcher if you prefer. Alternatively, you can call Cowley Police Station, that's 0865 266 331. 0865, the code for Oxford, 266 331.
Well, more news now from last month's Crimewatch. Despite the fact that the murder of Barbara Mayo took place 20 years ago, we had about 200 calls as a result of our reconstruction. Some of those were from people who'd harboured suspicions for many years, but thought the inquiry had long since been abandoned. Several calls were from women admitting that the alibis they'd given for boyfriends at the time had been false. And a few women said they remembered seeing a handbag like Barbara's missing one in the back of an ex-boyfriend or husband's car. Altogether, there are at least 20 promising new lines of investigation. There's been less to go on in the parallel inquiry into the murder of Jackie Ansell Lamb, also in 1970. But there have been some new leads which police are working on now, and we'll keep you informed.
And as a result of photo call in December, a man had hired quite a lot of video equipment, if you remember, and each time, as part of the rental agreement, he had a Polaroid picture taken of himself. Now, a viewer recognised the picture when we showed it, rang us with a name, and the police went round to check it. A man has now been charged with deception and handling stolen goods.
Well, now to this month's photo call. If you recognise anyone, we need to hear from you. Here with the details are Superintendent David Hatcher and Detective Constable Jackie Hames.
Colleagues investigating a rape in Bedford would like to speak to this man, Fazard Babood. He was last seen in March last year in Brighton. He's 37 and 5'9" tall, with neatly cut dark brown hair. He's usually smartly dressed. He has family connections in Harrogate, North Yorkshire, so if you've seen him there or have had any dealings with him, please call us now.
Officers in Merseyside believe this man is responsible for 13 armed robberies in the Liverpool area. He often tries to cover his face, but here he is on December the 6th last year, unmasked and brandishing a gun. He's frightened many shopkeepers and must be found before that gun goes off. So if you recognise him, please give us a call.
Warwickshire Police have asked for your help to find William James Dolman. He may have information about the loss of £4,000 worth of property from a house in Rugby. Last year, Mr Dolman travelled the country and is known to have visited Plymouth, Bolton and Gloucester. He often goes to singles clubs where he befriends middle-aged women, but he moves on from each place after a month or so, often with money they've lent him. He's 47, 5'7", well-built with a slightly pock-marked face. He has a scar around his right eye and may have a very faint tattoo of the name Jerry on one of his hands. Billy Dolman may be driving a blue and white Bedford van, registration GYH 342W. He usually stays in bread and breakfast or rented bedsits. If you know where he is, please ring us now.
And finally, colleagues here in London are looking for this man who's carried out over 120 frauds. This photograph was taken at a bank in Hampstead back in June 1988. Then in June last year, he became nervous while waiting for a cashier to return and walked out just as the security camera was activated. These shots were taken as he was leaving empty-handed from another London bank last October. He's mainly been seen around North London, but has been to the South End area of Essex. He's about 25, 5 feet 10 tall, medium build and usually smartly dressed. So if you think you recognise him or any of our other photo call faces, call us now.
And here's the number, 081 811 8181. 081 811 8181.
Our next reconstruction tonight is a burglary which turned into murder. 39-year-old Derrick Johnson was a happily married family man, devoted to his wife and 12-year-old son, and devoted to the thriving import and export business he'd built up with a partner over the past 17 years. On the evening of Tuesday the 6th of November, just after returning from a week's holiday in Spain with his family, Derrick Johnson was found dead in his office in East London. Police have helped us make the film you're about to see, piecing together what is known of the last day of Derrick's life. The reconstruction takes place at Derrick's office in Canning Town in East London. This is Canning Town flyover. Just nearby, on Lanrick Road, is Leapfield Maritime Limited, where Derrick Johnson worked as financial director. Derrick was quite a workaholic and often stayed late at the office.
Hello, Mark. It's Dad. How are you?
Oh, I'm okay, but it's due day tonight.
But whenever he did work late, he would always ring home to say goodnight to his young son.
No, should you?
No, I suppose not, Dad.
No. Okay, then. Look, I've got to go now. I'm working late tonight, so I'll see you tomorrow, okay?
Okay, Dad. See ya.
Yeah, okay. Night-night.
About 3 weeks before Derrick's death, one night in mid-October, there'd been an odd incident.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
I've come to pick up the cleaners.
Well, you're on here. Go on, get out.
After that, Derrick had arranged for all the locks of the office block to be changed. It's now Tuesday, the 6th of November, the day Derrick died. It was a hectic day with a backlog of work to catch up on after his holiday.
As soon as I can, okay?
Fine.
Hello?
Hello, love. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Are you busy?
Yeah, I'm not to my eyes. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stay late tonight.
Never mind, I thought you probably would. But don't forget to ring Mark later to say goodnight.
When do I ever forget it?
As usual, the cleaners arrived at about 5:30.
Oh, by the way, Steve popped in today. The name and address of his new restaurant.
Oh, great. That's the one he was telling us about.
Yeah.
Ah, let's get booked in.
A colleague, Christian Muto, popped in to say goodnight as he passed Derrick's office.
I left the office at a couple of minutes past 6 at the absolute latest and noticed a couple of boys standing over the road just by world-class imports. As I got across the road, looked out of the corner of my eye, they'd turned and were starting to follow. When I got up to the corner of Lanrick Road, again looked back, they were following me. When I walked on, down to the next kink, I looked back, they'd vanished. Whether they'd gone up onto the flyover, or whether they'd gone back to world-class imports, which was still open, or whether they just walked back to the flats or onto the industrial estate, I don't know.
All right.
Are you in tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah, right.
Hi, Dan. All right.
Evening, you two. Don't worry, I'm going to be in for a while yet. So.
Okay. Come on, man.
World-class Imports is directly opposite Derrick's company.
That night it was about 6:20, and we'd been staying behind simply because we were waiting for our driver to turn up. He'd gone to do a delivery down in Southend. I was looking up and down outside the windows from the showroom. I noticed there was a dark blue or a black car pull over, and it slowed right down outside our window, and I thought, well, I hope that's not a late customer. I carried on looking to see where this car had got to. A couple of minutes later, I noticed it was coming back again, and it did come up there twice. It was about 20 to 7. I actually got in my car and got to the end of the road, and as I got round to the corner, I realised that same car was there, and it looked as if it was stationary, and I was, like, ready to overtake it. As I did so, the car suddenly just, like, slowly pulled away from me, so I was behind it.
Unfortunately, he didn't notice the registration number, but the car crossed Canning Town flyover, heading towards Essex.
You got another one after that.
While they were there, the cleaners remembered Derrick received 2 phone calls. At about 6:35, they heard him laughing and joking on the phone. Then, just 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. This time, the conversation was longer and more serious. The cleaners left the offices at about 10 to 7.
Good night, Derrick.
Good night.
Derrick was now the only person in the building. Concerned that Derrick hadn't made the usual goodnight phone call to his son, Mrs. Johnson tried a number of times to contact him. By about 20 to midnight, extremely worried by now, she decided to drive the 10 miles to his office.
Derrick? Derrick?
Derrick had been killed shortly after the cleaners left, between 7 o'clock and 7:30. Dave Easy, the intention was burglary, but do you think whoever did this intended to kill Derrick Johnson?
Mr. Johnson had been tied with rope, his hands and his feet, and sellotape had been wrapped very firmly around his nose and mouth. He couldn't possibly breathe. Whoever did it knew that he would suffocate.
Now, you've brought with you a piece of the rope that was used to tie Derrick up. What is particular about this piece of rope?
Well, as you can see, this is sash-cord rope, and it isn't manufactured in this country. The rope in length that was used to tie up Derrick Johnson was 24 feet, and the ends of both pieces were sealed, as you can see at the end, with a burn. I need to know if anybody sold a rope of that length, sealed like that, and any date near the 6th of November.
Let's move on to those 2 phone conversations. They're both quite short conversations, overheard by the office cleaners. What might their significance be?
There were 2 calls at 6:38 and 6:40 p.m. They were the last calls that Mr. Johnson would have received. It's important for us to know who made those calls.
Even if it's only to eliminate them from inquiries?
That's correct.
So if you haven't come forward, please do come forward and tell us that you were those people. There are some specific people that you now know about who you want to trace who were seen in that area on that evening.
That's right. In particular, the occupants of 2 motor vehicles. The first motor vehicle is a dark car which parked at the entrance to Leitfield Maritime at 6:48 p.m. There were 2 occupants, both male. The passenger got out the vehicle and walked towards Leitfield Maritime. The vehicle then drove off after about 10 minutes without this passenger. Some 15 minutes after this, he was seen running away from Leitfield Maritime towards Canning Town flyover. The second vehicle is a Ford vehicle. At about 7:20 p.m, it parked again at the entrance to Leitfield Maritime with 2 male occupants. After about 2 minutes, the driver and the passenger got out and changed places. After about 5 minutes, they also drove off towards Canning Town flyover. I need to know who those men are, in particular who was the running man. And somebody may have seen them or the running man, and I need them to contact us.
Right, these are absolutely vital. Remember, we're talking about Tuesday, the 6th of November, early evening, between 6:30 and 7:30. There are local people who've got together to offer a reward of £10,000. If you know anything at all, this is the number to ring, please, if you can help at all. The smallest detail might make all the difference. 081 811 8181 here in the studio, or you can ring the North Woolwich Police Station direct on 0708 729 602. That's 0708 729 602.
Now to this month's incident desk. Here to take us through it, Superintendent David Hatcher and Detective Constable Jackie Hames.
Good evening. First, colleagues in Merseyside need your help to solve the brutal rape of a 14-year-old schoolgirl. If you recognise this man, please ring now. We think he'd been indecently exposing himself to young girls and women throughout the evening of Sunday the 20th of January in and around the Rain Hill area of Merseyside. At 9 o'clock in Chatsworth Road, he exposed himself to 3 14-year-old girls and started to follow one of them along the main A57 Warrington Road. At Wiston Hospital Nurses' Home, he attacked and raped her. He did, however, leave a clue behind, this emerald green T-shirt. We know it was bought from Freeman's Summer '89 catalogue. He's 25 to 30, 5'9" to 6 feet tall, very skinny and looks scruffy. If you think you recognise him or the T-shirt, please call us now.
Police Constable Mark Thorpe will never forget the early hours of Monday the 28th of January. He and a colleague answered a routine call to investigate a burglar alarm going off at Gateway Supermarket in Bristol. There they disturbed 2 men robbing the cigarette kiosk near the entrance. Mark Thorpe was stabbed repeatedly by the man he tackled. The descriptions of the robbers are vague because they wore balaclavas. We only know they were well built. One's 5'6" and the other's 6 feet tall. Their getaway car is a better clue. It was stolen almost a week before, on January the 22nd, from Oxford. It's a red Toyota Supra with false plates, registration number E351UBW. It was found on fire 3 miles away from the robbery in the St George's area of Bristol. Perhaps you saw it parked somewhere between January the 22nd and the 28th. And it had done 640 miles that week, but it's only 70 miles from Oxford to Bristol, so where had it been? If you can help on this, please do ring. PC Thorpe and his colleagues would be very grateful, and there is a very substantial reward on offer.
If you know this woman, you could help us find her murderer. On Sunday, February the 3rd, her body was found in southeast London. She'd been battered to death. My colleagues are searching for clues to her identity. They know she's about 30 with blue-grey eyes. She's 5 feet tall and wore size 10 clothes. This is how she was dressed on the night she died, and these are her real clothes. She was seen on a ferry from France and said she was returning from visiting her ex-husband in Paris. She herself was English. Why was she in the New Cross area of London on Saturday night, the 2nd of February? She was seen on a number 141 bus at 11:30 p.m, only 6 hours before her body was found in nearby Telegraph Hill Park. If you do know this lady, please ring us tonight. Someone, family or friend, must be missing her by now.
Some London burglars have left an unusual clue behind, one of their friends' voices on tape. On Thursday, December the 13th, a house was robbed in Maida Vale, London by 3 men. But they got a woman to ring up and check that only the German au pair would be in when they called on the pretence of delivering some flowers. See if you recognise her voice while we show you some of the things the gang stole.
This is into Flora. We've got a basket of flowers to be delivered. Can you tell me what time she'll be returning?
I don't know, but I'm here till 3 o'clock, so...
She won't be returning before then?
Sorry?
What time will she be returning?
I don't know. I think about 4 o'clock.
OK, but you're there till 3? You can
Yeah.
for them. OK, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
The thieves were in their 30s and had London accents. We think they used a white BMW 5 Series for their getaway. If you know who they are or recognise the woman's voice, please ring.
And now a case which made national news headlines, the murder of Hertfordshire accountant Patrick Hurling. He was strangled in the early hours of Saturday, December the 1st, at his home in Hertford, and fires were started in the house and garage. A number of his personal belongings are missing, and my Hertfordshire colleagues are hoping they will lead him to his killer. First, there's his 18-carat gold wedding ring, the pair to this one. It's unusual and has 3 bands with a brick design. The outer bands are yellow gold and the inner one white gold. We think it's engraved with TC 7315 or with a consecutive number. Also missing is his black leather wallet like this one with Bridgman Golf Society 1989-90 in gold lettering. And Mr. Helling's credit cards are also missing. But the most distinctive of all is this identity bracelet. We've had a copy made up. It's set with diamonds spelling his name. There's a larger reward for information leading to convictions in this case. So if you recognise any of these things or you think you can help in any way, please call us.
Many of our appeals to you for help involve odd circumstances, but this one is particularly strange. A body was dumped here on some wasteland 6 weeks ago. The area is Allerton Park, near Leeds, and it's a relatively isolated part of the city. What's strange is the condition of the body. Scientists tell us that it's of a man who died at least a year ago, but he could have been dead for up to 5 years. He's never been properly buried and nobody knows who he is. Perhaps you'll recognise him from this model of his face, reconstructed from his skull. He was white, probably in his 20s, 5'2" to 5'6", with an average build and light brown or ginger hair. Or you might remember his ear stud, watch, or the jumper that he was wearing, like this one. My Leeds colleagues need any help you can give them on this, so if you do recognise him, please ring.
And finally, I'd like to give a word of warning to anyone trying to sell their car through a local paper. If you get a call from someone guaranteeing to sell it for you in 72 hours, be extremely suspicious. Last July, 2 men started up a company called Bedford Cars to do just that. 9 quality cars worth more than £80,000 have subsequently disappeared. Don't add your name to the list of frustrated ex-owners. There are 2 men to look out for. Kenneth Ward is 30, 5'10" and of slim build. He has a large tattoo on his right forearm with the word Yorkshire written under a picture of a rose. He also calls himself Roger Phillips and Robert Brown. His partner calls himself William Day, and he's described as 30 to 40, 6 foot, stocky build with possibly a Scottish accent. These 2 men only stayed in Bedford for 2 weeks, so they could be in your area now. So if you're thinking of letting them sell your car, please don't. Ring us instead on this or any of our other incident desk cases.
And this is the number if you can help. 081 811 8181. That's 081 811 8181.
We're getting a large volume of calls tonight on the Cowley robbery. About 25 people so far have told us that the tracksuit we showed up, the logo on it means guaranteed made in Ireland. A Metropolitan Police officer has reported seeing the blue Vauxhall Cavalier, at least one with a broken window, not long ago, and 2 men attempted to trade in such a car, not all that far from where the crime took place. On the photo call, we've got 2 prison officers who've given the same name for one case. And indeed, the police are going to that straight away. And 2 viewers have given the name for, I won't say who it is now, somebody else in photo call, and again, police are investigating right now. Our next case is one of those crimes that's as frightening as an Alfred Hitchcock film, the murder of a young woman in the dark just a few yards from her home. The depiction of this sort of crime in fiction gives the impression it's quite common and makes many women scared. In fact, this sort of offence is rare, but tends to make big headlines. You won't find our reconstruction frightening, only rather sad. But maybe it will induce people to call us with information. Geraldine Palk lived with her mum and dad in Cardiff. A few days before Christmas, approaching her own doorstep, she was stabbed repeatedly, raped and dumped in a nearby stream. Her family and friends, together with several witnesses, have taken part in this reconstruction of the last hours of her life.
It's the night of Friday the 21st of December, the Friday before Christmas, and Cardiff city centre was crowded with partygoers. Like so many others that night, Geraldine was on an office outing with some colleagues from Celtic Shipping, where she'd worked for the past 2 years. They arrived at the Bank Wine Bar at about 10 to 6.
Yeah, Gil's your Christmas bonus. Make the most of it.
What are you going to wear to the party tomorrow night? I'm going to wear that black dress, you know, the black velvet one. What are you going to wear? I don't know, I think I might wear that black coat neck velvet one I've got in it. Oh, yes, I know. You've got to be careful when you dance, you don't fall out of that one. Oh, with these?
She didn't have any enemies. She'd, as I say, speak to anyone. She lived life. She lived it to the fullest. Very, very outgoing. And that was Geraldine, a very loving girl towards her family. a niece and nephew, you know, mum and dad and myself, very, very close. She was a bridesmaid in her favourite colour, which was what I wanted, because it suited her red. I mean, that was a favourite colour. And that's why I chose those colours for my wedding. She would have lived to have got married.
Yeah.
She would have made a good mother.
At about 11:40, Geraldine and a couple of her friends arrived at Jackson's nightclub in Westgate Street.
I've just gone to the toilet. Don't move from here.
Okay, thank you.
Geraldine never returned. But then, at about 20 past midnight, she joined a taxi queue just across the street from Jackson's nightclub, outside Castle Cabs.
Hiya, Jack.
Oh, hiya.
Where have you been?
Oh, the bank, Wine Press, and then Jackson's.
Who have you been with?
Oh, some of my mates from work.
You on your own?
Yeah, I'm knackered. I've been out all day. I'm going home.
Yeah, me too. Here's my taxi. See you then.
Yeah, bye then. Have a nice Christmas. Yeah, you.
By 12:45, Geraldine had got a cab herself and was sharing it towards Fairwater. She asked to be dropped off about 250 yards from her house, perhaps to save the taxi having to turn round in the estate.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, then.
Either she walked along Waterhall Road or took a shortcut across school playing fields. But just 20 yards from her door...
Stop!
I was driving down Waterhall Road at about 1:10 in the morning, and I was taking my babysitter home. As I approached Bracken Place, I thought what was a lover's tiff. He just had his hands on her shoulders and was shaking her, and as I carried on down Waterhall Road, there was a girl and two boys walking down past the school. They were only 20 or 30 yards away from the argument when I saw them. The three people must have walked past the couple that were arguing just seconds before I drove past them.
A few minutes later, screams were heard by people in nearby houses. And about half an hour later, in the same area, a couple saw a man running from the direction of the school playing fields, where Geraldine's body was found next day. The man flagged down a taxi, which turned round a little further on in Bracken Place and came back to pick him up. They drove off towards Cardiff city centre.
I had a feeling then there was something wrong because Geraldine hadn't come home from the night before, and it wasn't like her not to telephone or whatever to tell us. And then I had to go down to Cardiff Royal Infirmary to actually identify her. My parents just can't speak to anyone. They're absolutely devastated. They just can't believe that something has happened like this to Geraldine. And we're convinced that there's someone out there, somewhere, knows something about this. And if they're keeping it to themselves, well, that'll be on their conscience for as long as they live. But that's all they need to do is pick the phone up, phone me or the police. It's only the information we're after. We're not after their names or addresses. Just help us to catch this person.
Just a note of detail, there was snow there, as you saw. It was snowing during our reconstruction. It was not snowing on the Friday night before Christmas. Phil Jones, this attack was one of enormous ferocity.
Yes, it was. It was a brutal and sustained attack on a decent young woman who had got within yards of her home before being bundled into the middle of playing fields opposite her home, raped, repeatedly beat about the head, and stabbed on over 80 occasions before being dragged about 130 yards to a brook near the Fairwater Leisure Centre.
What it means is that whoever did it would have been absolutely covered in blood.
Yes, he would have been. Very substantially blood-stained, and muck about his clothing and his footwear.
So someone went home early in the morning of that Saturday before Christmas with a lot of blood and muck on them?
Yes, he did.
3 witnesses we saw in Waterhall Road. Obviously, you want those to come forward. That was late that Friday night, early this Saturday morning, who were walking past the arguing couple. Anyone else you want to find?
Yes, we've already spoken to a lot of people in that area at that time, but we're appealing for anyone else who was out in that area after 12:30 to come forward.
Anyone else you want to find?
Yes, we do. I am firmly of the opinion that Geraldine had formed an association with a man during the 10 days, or had an association with a man during the 10 days leading up to her death. She didn't confide in anyone about it. I've already appealed for that man to come forward, to date without success. I'll appeal again, and I'll ask anyone who may have any idea about his identity to come and speak to us.
Now, that friend, or indeed other men you're appealing, or other witnesses you're appealing for who were leaving the area late that night, might have legitimate reasons for not wanting to come forward, at least non-criminal ones. They might have been with someone they shouldn't have been with. Are you going to reveal anything about their private life to the public?
What I'd say is this: I'm in the business of trying to detect a murder, nothing else.
So if they come, you'll treat any information they give you with absolute discretion?
Yes.
You found a key. It might not have been Geraldine's, but it might have been. Describe the key to us, can you?
Well, it wasn't Geraldine's. The key was found about 20 yards from the site of an attack upon her. It's a duplicate key cut from a blank with the word Ilko embossed on it. It's come from a lock which has been fitted to a double-glazed aluminium door, probably fitted to a shop or commercial premises, or even to a house. It could have been on a bottom, or fitted to a bottom rail lock on a shutter door, or even a padlock.
OK, well, if you know who lost that key, or indeed if you lost it, or think you did, please call us. Here's the number if you can help in any way: 081 811 8181, or you can call the CID in Cardiff. They're on 0222 398 381. That's 0222, the code for Cardiff, 398 381.
Well, more calls are still coming in behind us. On our reconstruction of Derrick Johnson's murder, we've had calls with suggestions on where the rope might have come from and what it might have been designed for. On photocall, in fact, officers are on their way to investigate 3 particular photocall cases at the moment. And yeah, at the moment, that's all we can say. As far as Incident Desk is concerned, there also has been some names to the video fit on the case of the rape inquiry in Rainhill in the Merseyside area. I hope there'll be more to tell you when we come back on air at 11:25, immediately after question time. That'll be Crimewatch Update in about an hour from now. Meanwhile, the lines in the studio here will be staying open until midnight, and the local numbers for the investigations are on page 618 of CFAX.
And if you can't stay up till then, we'll bring you up to date next month on how these crimes are being solved. Whatever happens, don't have nightmares, please. Sleep well. Good night.
Good night.